Hey guys, Sebastian Grant here. If you have trouble quitting weed in any way, shape or form, just weed, marijuana, this is probably a pretty good video for you to be watching. So there's three types of people I would say watching this actual video. The first type would be like the 90% of all emails I receive. Now these are from people that are trying to quit marijuana and just have trouble, they can't actually quit it. And this can go on for years and it can really interrupt your life. And yes, I realise this isn't heroin we're talking about, which brings me to the second group of people that are probably watching this video. The other 10% of people sending me emails are usually people saying that nobody has a problem quitting weed. Right, so you can imagine my email inbox is quite hilarious because we have 90%, very serious problems, things that we take very seriously, and then we have, the email after that problem is some guy saying that that person doesn't exist. Okay, it's very stupid. But I think the reason that this happens is when you use marijuana and addictive in the same sentence. People do not like to hear that, right? The third type of person would just be anyone else. So let's just do 5 seconds of research right now. This is American Psychological Association. Down the bottom, 9% of frequent marijuana users are dependent on the drug. Something I'll just say quickly is I'm not really trying to convince you that marijuana is addictive or not. I really don't care. I couldn't be bothered trying to convince people of things. So I just actually help people quit weed professionally. That's what I do. It all started because I had a big problem with marijuana myself. I quit weed about 8 years ago. I smoked for 13 years every single day. So, I just had a problem with weed and I've done a lot of research. I've written some books since, that's it. If you don't think marijuana is addictive, I agree with you. Cool, whatever. Right? I'm not here to convince anybody of anything. Any opinions you have, it's definitely sweet with me. Here we are at another one. This is a government website, drugabuse.gov, and here is the addictive potential of marijuana. Here we have again, estimates from research suggest that about 9% of users become addicted to marijuana. Oh wow, the actual addicted word. Now, no one's going to be convinced, yes, if you don't think marijuana is addictive, that's good for you and you're not going to change your mind. And you're probably, one thing I get a lot of, which is hilarious, is the whole, oh, that's a government website, right? The government's a conspiracy, the government's out to get us, blah, 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 blah. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have very much faith in the government's abilities. Right? If you ever talk about conspiracies with the government, it kind of makes me laugh because, think about the alien conspiracies, right? If the government was harboring aliens and alien ships and all this rubbish, they're doing a much better job at that than they do at anything else, don't you think? In fact, going back to weed, if it was legal, they could tax it and make a whole lot more money, couldn't they? The other thing I hear way too often from all the teenage experts is alcohol's legal, marijuana's illegal, and alcohol's worse than marijuana. You know what? I agree with you. Tons of things are worse than marijuana. Heroin's worse, coke's worse, meth is way worse. But it doesn't mean marijuana doesn't have problems. They're separate issues, right? But moving on, and our own research, because I tell you what, we do a lot of our own research, shows very consistently, because we do these surveys all the time, that marijuana was a problem only for about 40% of marijuana users that have smoked for a minimum of 3 months daily. And it's very important to acknowledge that daily smoking is what does it. And we've only done about 10,000 people. So it's not a massive study, but it's an independent study and it's our own research. So there's no big scary government involved. But I do understand many people don't have a problem with weed, and hey, I'm cool with that. But if you don't have a problem with weed, please, you are a stoner, have an open mind. Some people do have a problem with weed. And this is where the original stat came from. So it is estimated that 9% of people who use marijuana will become dependent on it. I don't know, I would have said to it. The number goes up to about 1 in 6 to those who start using young in their teens. And that's true as well. If you start smoking before the age of 17, like me, okay, I started at an extremely young age. I smoked every single day, morning, night, for 13 years. I used it to help me sleep. I used it to help me eat food. I used it to do all these things. So my body adapted. And there are physical symptoms when you stop smoking. If you start chuffing before the age of 17, this is much more likely to happen to you. One of our little research studies we did the other day. So, do you consider yourself addicted to marijuana? This is just to give you an idea of the group of people. Yes was 66.3%. 65 people answered yes. This is only a 100-person survey. Second question we had was, how often do you smoke weed on average? So if you add these up, we're talking about, what is it? So that's nearly 40, 50, 60, 70, over 70% of people that smoke weed every single day. So this will be a good survey of people that smoke daily. Next question, what things worry you most about quitting? And here's where we really get a bit of insight about this. Now, number one on the list is just feeling like something is missing. And I put that there because anxiety is actually one of the largest symptoms when people quit smoking marijuana, besides lack of sleep. Lack of sleep is usually the biggest one. Here we only have 50% of people saying that. Anxiety is another one, but if you use the word anxiety, most people don't relate. So we have 46% of people agree that they have some sort of anxiety or panic attack or whatever when they quit smoking marijuana, and it's stopping them from quitting. But when you say it this way, feel like something is missing. I mean, I myself, I wouldn't admit to having anxiety. I don't ever thought I had anxiety. But certainly I was a little bit flustered and on edge and all that type of thing when I first stopped smoking marijuana, and people really do relate. Eating properly without weed is a very big symptom. A lot of people agree with that. Here we only have 36%. It's usually a little bit higher. The problem with hanging out with friends and family is that all your friends or family smoke marijuana. So how are you supposed to quit and hang out with these people that socialize and bond on smoking weed? And especially if you don't have any friends that don't smoke weed. If you have friends that don't smoke weed, you won't relate to that, right? So different things for different people. And stomach pains when you don't smoke, yeah, that's a really big one as well. We also had a whole bunch of hidden responses as well. People wrote essays of problems that they had. I won't go into that. There's a bit of privacy issue there. So, and again, what reasons mostly make you want to stop smoking weed? We have most people here changing lifestyle. But this survey was very long. I don't want to go into it all. So if it's not so physically addictive and it's not heroin, what stops you from quitting marijuana? Well, most people think that it is your desire to gain pleasure that keeps you addicted, right? Or keeps you smoking marijuana. Sorry, I won't use the addiction word. I know how you get your nuts out about it. People think that if you have a problem with weed, it is only because weed creates pleasure. I mean, what kind of gluttony pig do they think you are? The honest truth is quite different. The real reason you probably cannot quit marijuana is your need to avoid pain. The need to avoid pain is 10 times stronger than the desire to gain pleasure in all humans, right? That's why not that many people are successful, but everyone has shelter and food. If you go without shelter and food, you're going to experience a lot of pain. But if you worked a bit harder, you could be a millionaire. You could live in the biggest house. You could live perfectly wherever you want to. But most people don't. Most people fail at most things because their real driving force is their need to avoid pain. Now, with marijuana, what the hell would the pain be? Now, I know what the skeptics are saying. What pain of quitting marijuana? Well, there's plenty of pain. You saw them in the surveys. The biggest three would be not being able to eat, not being able to sleep, and anxiety or panic attacks. Although you don't really want to say it that way, is one of the biggest problems. But that opens a whole new can of worms, because what it really means is that you have been using marijuana to self-medicate for some other problem. And if that is the case, it is definitely holding you back from quitting, because quitting is creating large amounts of pain. So all you really need to do is get clear. If you cannot stop smoking marijuana, write down 2 things. And this is just to get absolutely clear about why the hell you can't do it, because of this non-addictive, such a simple, mild drug, blah, blah, blah. But if you have this problem, just write this down. What is the pain associated to you quitting marijuana? I guarantee there's something there, and it's probably pretty big. And secondly, write down what is the pleasure you will get from not quitting marijuana. The obvious answer straight up, being stoned creates pleasure. But if that's your answer, think a little bit harder. Maybe it's just something really simple. Now, I know this sounds like a bunch of hocus, right? But that is why most people don't do it. That is why most people fail at most things. Clarity gives you so much power, and power means the ability to act. So just do it. Sit down, write down, get clear about why it is that you're taking the actions that you continue to take every single day of your life. And if you start to do that with everything in life, you'll be in the top 1%, I guarantee it. Seriously, man, take action. Do this. It'll change your life. My name is Seb Grant. I gotta go. Thank you for watching to the end. Catch you later.